once we got to pick up the series, which almost didn't happen because of Star Trek, after our episode 2 of year 2, we got no notes from Warner Brothers. They left us alone. It was benign neglect. They didn't promote us. They didn't help us. They didn't get in our way. So I got to write whatever I wanted to write.
Babylon 5, one of my favorite TV shows of all time. And we've discussed this on Saturday Pre-Flight. Speaking of Saturday Pre-Flight, we talked about the Prime 10 network, the P10 or Prime 10. This is before the CW, before any of the other networks that you see today on the independent stations. And basically, J. Michael Straczynski had announced that they are working on a sort of reboot of the series, but at the CW. Now, the CW, and we've discussed this before, the CW is on its way out. It is really on its way out. Warner and CBS are looking for a buyer. I think it's going to be Nexstar, and I think it's very, very close because of this announcement that's happened. There are several announcements. They announced that they're doing a prequel series to Supernatural, Walker, Texas Rangers. There's a Gotham Knights show that's coming, and a couple of other shows that are on there. But one show that's being put off until after the sale is the Babylon 5 series that's being put on hold. I got a lot of questions on that. I really, truly got a lot of questions on this decision. Why was it made, number one, whereas other shows on there, which I am glad that it's going to be held off for another year. Now, this could go in one direction or another, good or bad. And the first question out of the bag is, if the CW is sold, will the new owners want Babylon 5 on this network? It's a possibility. Or because of the sale of the network, will Warner shop it around or keep it on HBO Max? Which, if it is, and even though I don't like the way Warner has been producing lately, they have put more money into certain shows. For example, Superman and Lois, even though the ratings on Superman and Lois has been dropping lately. But you could see the differences between Superman and Lois versus, say, the CW's Naomi, Batwoman, the Flash TV series. You see how the quality has gone down, the script writing has gone down, and of course the ratings. The ratings itself is just in the basement. I mean, it's in the total basement when it comes to the network. I mean, we're talking about, okay, let's put it this way. When Arrow came out, and I mentioned this before, when Arrow first aired on the network, we're talking about 4.5 to 5 million viewers for this TV show. And the same thing with Flash. And it was about like maybe 3 to 4 million on Legends of Tomorrow. What are those series seeing now these days? I mean, you know, Arrow's been canceled. Black Lightning's been canceled. Supergirl's been canceled. And they've all extended low ratings. We're talking on the average of 300,000 viewers to about 600,000 viewers as far as the way the networks have been going as far as these particular shows. Now, we don't have any new ratings this past week because I believe they took a week or two off, which normally at this time of February, normally this time of the year that they normally do. And then they come back in with a lot of much more episodes. You know, and then, you know, we see Kung Fu that's also coming back again. You know, Walker, I think, is getting another season out of it. And like I said, there's going to be a Supernatural prequel. You know, they've already tried Supernatural several times. I think it's 2 or 3 times that they've tried to do a spin-off of Supernatural, and it's never gotten to the starting gate. You know, they did a small pilot episode on Supernatural, but it never went anywhere. It just never went anywhere, even though some of it was interesting, but it just didn't go anywhere. And this is, whoops, sorry about that, folks. It just knocked something over. It just, the writing, the abilities that a lot of people, I mean, they're hiring crap. I'm sorry. And this is the reason why, and which we'll bring up later on the ESPN situation. When you hear diversity, and these guys talk about, oh, we have to be diverse and this, and that. No, the first thing in any corporation is when you hire somebody, you're not, for you to say diverse is being very racist. And for the reason is that you're looking at color versus the person's abilities, strengths, and weaknesses. Because hey, listen, when I get hired for a job, or if I'm hiring somebody, I'm looking at what, and I've said this before, what can you bring, if I'm hiring you for CutieCast TV, what can you bring to the table that would help strengthen the company? What are your abilities? We look at people with their abilities, their strengths, their weaknesses, their education, how they promote themselves, not because what color they are, what nationality, what sexuality they are, what their pronouns are, if they're trans, if they're gay, if they're a cat, we don't look at those situations. If anything, that violates labor laws throughout this country, state to state, and federal labor laws. And you can say, so, well, we have, all these rules that we brought up on there. Yeah, some of those rules are, even when you look at what they wanted to do originally, like affirmative action, got perverted on the way in. We're hearing these situations when a lot of these bills are pushed in Congress. I mean, we just heard this week, Tim Pool had Marjorie Taylor Greene on again, and Thomas Massey, and they explained some of the scariest things that happen in Congress and the Senate, that they can have a vote with just 2 people in attendance. They stopped the vote for $2 trillion, and there was only 2 people in the room. And that violates Senate rules, Senate and congressional rules. You have to have at least 50% of the representatives in that room to vote, not 2 people. And you may ask yourself, wow, that's just only for one side. Prove it wrong. Prove it wrong. Look at the bills that have come out. When you see the sheets upon, when you have to drag a bill with 2 wagons into a room, and it would take you weeks to read every single page of what's in this bill, there's a problem. It should not have that many terms and conditions, because you know what happens? They sneak a little things in, and that's what happened with affirmative action. They sneaked a lot of things in there, and basically it failed. It's a failure. People say, well, we need more people. You can't push people to get certain jobs. Okay? You can't say, well, we have to have more women in this position. What if women don't want to be in that position? What if they don't want that kind of job or that work? That they want to do something else? You can't force them in there. You can go educating them young and say, listen, we have these kind of jobs available. Maybe you might be interested. But in the final decision, it's their decision to make. That's why I keep saying, stay away from these colleges. Go to trade school. Learn to work with your hands. Because that's one of the biggest things in this country that we have faltered on, is that a lot of people can't work with their hands anymore. We don't have that many construction workers anymore, auto workers anymore. We don't have people in the manufacturing business, clothing, shoes, like we used to. We ship everything out overseas, but remember, There was a time when overseas looked at this country for all their clothing needs, for all their fabrication needs. We built the industry here, and we allowed it to be let go and moved overseas. Let me read a little bit of this into. This is off J. Michael's Patreon. I will be posting a link shortly to the online folks can get the news, but I want to let our Patreon hear the word first, even if it's only a little bit. Anyone who knows the history of Babylon 5 knows the path of the show has never been easy and rarely proceeds in a straight line. Yeah, we know that. And I think that's why it was still popular. Apparently that hasn't changed. About a month ago or so, it was announced that the CW network, that B5's home for the last year while the pilot script was in active development, was up for sale. When the news of this broke, the immediate question was, will this have any effect on B5? Situations like this have a way of upheaving the development because new owners usually want to put their imprimatur on what projects go forward, like everyone else. I hope there will be no immediate impact and the progress on a project like this would continue onward unabated. And that's just a bit of piece of what he had said. His bottom line is here. Let me give you the bottom line of the whole thing. Yesterday, Babylon 5 was in active development at the CW and Warner for fall 2022. Today, Babylon 5 is active development for 2023. That's the only difference. Would it have been wonderful if we gotten the green light today? Absolutely, of course. But it seems that we have to wait a little longer. What matters is the project is still very much alive, and when it's time appropriate, the window will give B5 fans the opportunity to express their passionate support to the series. To the new owners of the CW, as noted above, the road to B5 has never been easy, but good news come out today is that the road is still very much intact. Understand this. Understand that this is a pilot they're doing. This is similar to what happened with the Powerpuff Girls. And the Powerpuff Girls, it was in development, and we haven't heard anything since because one of the characters have dropped, one of the actresses have dropped out of the project. Now, is it dead in the water? We don't know because CW hasn't said anything about it since then, since the dropout. As far as we know, it's probably they're going to try to rewrite and recast. But see, this is the things that happens at the CW. And the CW has been in major situations. And like I said, a lot of their programming doesn't do well. You've seen this. You've seen this out of what you've seen on Naomi, Batwoman. I mean, the perfect example, and people says, well, it had to do with race that it got canceled. No. When you look at Black Lightning, and I'll tell you something. When Black Lightning first aired, it was really, really good. I enjoyed it. It was well. Somewhere around season 2, the writing just got a little weird. And you could see the changes as it went on. They just really pushed the political narrative, the wokemans, the wokish, this is the things that they do. And this is where we have problems. Whether Straczynski is involved or not, it doesn't matter. It comes in the end, guess what it comes down to? The network. It comes down to Warner, who is still running. Right? Whether the CW still is owned by Warner or not, Warner will have say so in the production of B5 because it still belongs to them. Now, the CW can sit there and says, well, we don't want this, that, or the other thing. We already see this from what they did to the 4400. Look how bad the 4400 is. It fell off the map where nobody was really watching it.